I said, is from Revelations. And the poem was dedicated when it was written to Susan Sontag, who has recently died. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So it will be a kind of a monologue in which I am probably the person that I'm writing about. It was in winter, steeples, spires congealed like holy candles. Rotting snow flaked from Europe's ceiling. A compact man, I crossed the canal in a grey overcoat, on one lapel a crimson buttonhole for the cold ecstasy of the assassin. In the square coffin manacled to my wrist, small countries pleaded through the mesh of grass, in crevice-spaced Xerox forms to the World Bank, on which I had scrawled the one word, mercy. I sat on a cold bench under some skeletal lindens. 2 other gentlemen, black skins gone grey as their identical belted overcoats crossed the wide river. They spoke the stilted French of their dark river, whose hooked worm multiplying its pale sickle could thin the harvest of the winter streets. Then we can depend on you to get us those tractors. I gave my word. May my country ask why you are doing this, sir? Silence. You know, if you betray us, you cannot hide. A tug, smoke trailing its dark cry. So at the beginning, he makes, this is a plot, this is a deal in which he's made some obscure transaction which he thinks is going to benefit the country, but which is going to turn around and let him down. At the window in Haiti, I remember a gecko pressed against the hotel glass with white palms, concentrating head, with a child's hands. Mercy, monsieur, mercy, which is a pun on merci, monsieur, merci. Famine sighs like a scythe across the field of statistics, and the desert is a moving mouth. In the hold of this earth, 10 million shoreless souls are drifting. Somalia, 765,000. The skeletons will go under the tidal sand. The whole question of figures, or numbers, whether of disasters, of famine, or massacre, is something we get used to in the daily papers and we look at with a helpless shrug. The more it happens, the more we get used to disaster. So now, we measure disasters numerically, like only 50,000 people died in Pakistan. That's the kind of statement we are used to, maybe because of the access of the press. Not that we are heartless, but we are used to those figures. Those numbers become a part of our daily breakfast. We will meet you in Bristol to conclude the agreement. Steeples like tribal lances, through congealing fog, the cries of wounded church bells wrapped in cotton, grey mist enfolding the conspirator like a sealed envelope next to his heart. No one will look up now to see the jet fade like a weaver through a cloud of flour. One flies first class, one is so fortunate. Like a telescope reversed, the traveler's eye swiftly screws down their individual sorrow to an oval nest of antic numerals, and the iris interlocking with this globe condenses it to zero, then a cloud. He has come back from some assignment somewhere now, back to London. Beetle black taxi from Heathrow to my flat. We are roaches, riddling the state cabinets, entering the dark holes of power, carapaced in top coats, scuttling around columns, signaling for taxis with frantic antennae. To other huddles with roaches, we infect with optimism. And when the cabinets crack, we are the first to scuttle, radiating separately back to Geneva, Bonn, Washington, London. Under the dripping plains of Hampstead Heath, I read her letter again, watching the drizzle disfigure its pleading like mascara. Margot, I cannot bear to watch the nations cry. Then the phone. We will pay you in Bristol. Days in fetid bedclothes, swallowing cold tea, the phone stifled by the pillow. The telly a blue storm with soundless snow. I'd light the gas and see a tiger's tongue. I was rehearsing the ecstasies of starvation for what I had to do. For a while, for a few days maybe, because he's going to be going to a country in which people are starving, he starves himself for a while, just for a while, but to see what agony starvation can bring with it, and that he hopes this might make him bring a stronger understanding of his responsibility. I was rehearsing the ecstasies of starvation for what I had to do, and I have not charity. I found my pity desperately researching the origins of history, from reed-built communes by sacred lakes, turning with the first sprocketed, water-driven wheels. I smelled imagination among bestial hides by the gleam of fact, seeking in all races a common ingenuity. I envisaged an Africa flooded with such light as alchemized the first fields of emmer wheat and barley, when we savages dyed our pale dead with ochre and bordered our temples with the ceremonial vulva of the conch. In the grey epoch of the obsidian adze, I sowed the Sahara with rippling cereals. My charity fertilized these aridities. What was my field? Late 16th century. My field was a dank acre. The Sussex Don I taught the Jacobean anxieties, the white devil. Flaminio's torch startles the brooding ewes. The drawn end comes in strides. I loved my Duchess, the white flame of her soul blown out between the smoking cypresses. Then I saw children pounce on green meat with a rat's ferocity. I called them up and took the train to Bristol. My blood, the Sevens, dregs and silver. On Sevens estuary, the pieces flash. His chariot's salary, patron saint of spies. I thought, who cares how many millions starve? Their rising souls will lighten the world's weight and level its dull, glittering waterline. We left at sunset down the estuary. He leaves England. England recedes. The forked white gull screeches, circling back. Even the birds are pulled back by their orbit. Even mercy has its magnetic field. Back in the cabin, I uncapped the whiskey, the porthole missed with glaucoma. By the time I'm pissed, England will be that pale, serrated indigo on the sea line. You are so fortunate. You get to see the world. Indeed, sirs, I have seen the world. Spray splashes the portholes and vision blurs. Leaning on the hot rail, watching the hot sea, I saw them far off, kneeling on hot sand in the pious genuflections of the locust, as Ponce's armored knees crush Florida to the funereal fragrance of white lilies. He has arrived now in a place where he is hiding, somewhere in the Caribbean. Now I have come to where the phantoms live. I have no fear of phantoms, but of the real. The Sabbath benedictions of the islands. Treble clef of the snail on the scored leaf. The tantum ergo of black choristers soars through the organ pipes of coconuts. Across the dirty beach, surplus with lace, they pass a brown lagoon behind the priest, pale and unshaven in his frayed soutane, into the concrete church of Canaries, as Albert Schweitzer moves to the harmonium of morning and to the pluming chimneys, the groundswell lifts Leban's realm. Black faces sprinkled with continual dew. Dew on the speckled croton, dew on the hard leaf of the knotted plum tree, dew on the elephant ears of the dasheen. Through Kurtz's teeth, white skulled in elephant grass, the imperial fiction sings. Sunday wrinkles downriver from the heart of darkness. The heart of darkness is not Africa. The heart of darkness is a core of fire in the white center of the Holocaust. The heart of darkness is a rubber claw selecting a scalpel in antiseptic light. The heels of children's shoes outside the chimneys. The tinkling nickel instruments on the white altar. Jacob, in his last card, sent me these verses. Think of a God who doesn't lose his sleep. If trees burst into tears or glaciers weep. So aping his indifference, I write now, not Anno Domini, after Dachau. The night maid brings a lamp and draws the blinds. I stay out on the veranda with the stars. Breakfast congealed to supper on its plate. There is no sea as restless as my mind. The promontories snore. They snore like whales. Cetus the whale was Christ. The ember dies, the smoke, sky like an ash heap. Reeds wash their hands of guilt, and the lagoon is stained. Louder since it rained, a gauze of sandflies hisses from the marsh. Of course, the famous statement from Nietzsche is that God is dead. Since God is dead, and these are not his stars, but man-lit, sulphurous sanctuary lamps, it's in the heart of darkness of this earth that backward tribes keep vigil of his body in Daya, Lampion, and this bedside lamp. Most of the tribes of this earth don't know Nietzsche's statement that God is dead, so they continue to praise him. Keep the news from their blissful ignorance. Like lice, the hungry of this earth swarm to the tree of life. If those who starve like these rain flies who shed glazed wings in light grew from sharp shoulder blades their brittle vans and soared toward that tree, how it would seethe our justice. The fires drench them like vermin, quotas prevent them, and they remain compassionate fodder for the travel book, its paragraphs like windows from a train. For everywhere that earth shows its